Hi and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Star Trek Discovery Season 1 Episode 14, The War Without, The War Within. This video is a part of a series of videos where I review episodes of Star Trek Discovery, so I'll have to start with a spoiler warning for Discovery up to Season 1 Episode 14. If you haven't seen up to this point, you may not want to watch this video, otherwise some things may be spoiled for you. So, yeah, this was a fairly decent episode, to be perfectly honest. I don't have that much to say about it. I don't think it was absolutely great. I don't know, it's weird, because times I was thinking, wow, I love Discovery, this is amazing season, it's setting up some amazing things, and other times during the episode I was like, this is kind of boring. So I was going sort of back and forth. I had sort of mixed feelings about this episode. So we start off when we're in. It's actually had a really amazing, really intense start. Because we start with the scene with Giorgio and Saru in the transporter room, and that was pretty intense. I loved the interaction between them, as she was just like, "Oh, your meal" or whatever, and she's, Burnham was there. It's like, "No, that's my captain." And it's like, "Yo, you're taking orders from your meal." So it's a very, very interesting dynamic there, and of course Saru's just like, "What the fuck did you do? Why'd you bring her here?" So that was very intense, and it got even more intense when we get on the bridge and the Starfleet officers like Cornwell, and we see Andorians. I think it's just the same Andorians and Tellarites that we saw in the Mirror Universe when Burnham and Tyler went to the Rebel camp. So it was interesting. We now see their Prime universe counterparts, and it's also, I think this is the first time in Discovery that we do see Andorian and Tellarite Starfleet officers, and that's something we actually never really saw in any of the other Star Trek incarnations. They sort of implied there were Andorian Starfleet officers and that they were a major part of the Federation, but we never actually freaking see them. So it was actually great that they, and he appears later on as like the Star Wars Force Jedi hologram thing from the prequels that they do when they have their Jedi conference with the holograms standing there. I'm sorry, that's what I think of. And they had that Andorian guy there, so I think maybe he's a captain. I don't know. He's some sort of high-ranking guy. I don't know. But it's interesting. And so it was really intense, and they storm the bridge, and they have Sarek mind meld to say, "Oh, just so we can tell that's actually you." Now, I was a bit unclear on this. Did the Klingons infiltrate Starfleet on a massive scale at the way that Tyler did? And is that why they want to make sure that they're actually the people? Or does it just have to do with the fact that they thought Discovery was destroyed, so they think this is a trick? I don't know, maybe it's a combination. They weren't very clear on that, but it is interesting to see, because people were wondering, are we going to run into the Mirror Discovery? And apparently it's been destroyed. And unless they can try to say no, it's not. But I don't think they are. I think we're done. We're not going to see Captain Killy. I wasn't really that interested in that, to be perfectly honest. I'm kind of thankful they said Discovery was destroyed, and they're like, no, that was the Mirror Discovery. And of course, it is a good thing that Sarek does mind meld with Saru, because he cuts right through it. It's kind of reminiscent of the way Sarek in the Mirror Universe mind melded with Burnham, and she was able to cut through it and see that she was telling the truth. So that's nice symmetry there. So that was really intense. That was really interesting. I loved it. And we learned that the Federation they said 20% of their things destroyed. Now, they were going to get a Starbase 1. And my impression of the way they were talking about Starbase 1 was that it was near Earth. And they get there and it's taken over by the Klingons. And they sort of killed everyone there, and they run the starbase now. So does that mean, I don't know, but they seem to imply that they haven't gotten Earth, because they were talking about protecting Earth. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's nowhere near Earth, but it's called Starbase 1. So I don't know. They mentioned that like a lot of the top brass are there. I don't know. I'm still thinking that this all needs to be an alternate timeline or something that's going to be undone by the end of next week's episode. That they're going to travel back 9 months in the past and make sure that none of this happens. Because I don't know. I gotta be honest. I'm going to have a hard time buying that this fits into the rest of the Star Trek canon if they don't undo this. Especially the way it's presented in this episode. I mean, they didn't say the Federation was completely defeated, but they're pretty fucked. I mean, all these planets are dying. They lost like 20%. I have a hard time that all this shit that the Federation almost crumbled 10 years before Kirk. I don't know. That doesn't sit right with me. I don't know. Like, I won't hate it if they don't undo the timeline, but I still really would much, much prefer that. But anyway, I don't know. We'll find out how this happens. I don't want to be one of those people crying about Canon because it's ridiculous. Like, all the other Star Trek shows have violated canon like nuts. And people say, oh, Discovery is not Star Trek because it doesn't fit into canon. You don't know what you're talking about. All fucking Star Trek shows violate, especially Voyager. Oh my god. Like, they don't give a fuck about canon. So, but anyway, I still, for my peace of mind, I would still prefer that they undid this. That would be more interesting to me. But I don't know. Maybe they won't, and they'll find some other way to make me happy. I don't know. And it's also just the whole thing, the situation they're in with, like, Burnham, how she was like a war criminal, and I don't know, just all these other things, like the spore drive. They still need to reconcile that with canon as well. So I still think that something needs to happen. There needs to be some grand thing other than them just defeating the Klingons. There needs to be something involving time travel or something that sort of puts this all into perspective. So I'm hoping that next week's episode will wow me in that regard. So maybe it's something I haven't thought of. So I hope it is something grand. They don't just play it straight, because I'd be kind of bored if they played it straight, and I'd be kind of inconsistent with Star Trek canon. Sorry to say that, but it would be. So I hope they do something spectacular, but we'll see. So back to this week's episode. We get like the stuff with Tyler and Burnham. I think that in particular was the ups and downs for me, where I didn't know what to think of it. I actually thought it was great drama at times, and other times I was like, yeah, that's a bit boring. So it's hard to say. Like, it was really, the scenes were really well acted. I mean, kind of like the scene at the cafeteria when Tilly went to sit with him, and then other people came. But then by the end of the scene, there was like 15 people crowding around like one table with like 4 chairs. I'm like, okay, that's ridiculous. Dial it back a little bit. Have like just 4 or maybe 5 people sit there, but have like 10 and 15. I was like, come on, no. But other than that, was a pretty cool scene. And the scene with Burnham, where she confronted Tyler, was actually really touching. I think that was really well acted. I did sort of like I did think that was deep in the way they talked about they don't know who's who. But I think they're still very unclear. They're annoyingly unclear on who, like, this guy is. Is he Vogue, who had Tyler's memories implanted on him, but now he's somehow Tyler? Or did they graft somehow Tyler and Vogue together, and they're like some Frankenstein monster that is both of them physically? Or does it not matter who is? I don't know. I just wish they were more clear on this. Maybe someone in the comments would be like, Mark, you're an idiot, they explained it in the episode. I don't know. I just wish they were a bit more clear on that, that's all. But I mean, we do know, it does seem for the time being that Tyler is, at least that this is Tyler, the Vulc is gone. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. See, and that's the other thing. They're talking about Tyler's going to be put in chains or whatever, and I just have a feeling that's never going to happen. that something's going to happen. That I'm still hoping for the 24th century, but I doubt it. But I just think that something's going to happen that's going to take Discovery out of the picture altogether now. Like originally there was just planned to be one season, that's it. But now they're talking about a second season that will be with these characters, so there is going to be continuation. I don't know, I think it would be cool if something weird happened. But anyway, back to the episode. Okay, so alright, I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead to the ending, which I think is the thing I had the hardest time buying, is because the Giorgio gave the information. They came up with this really cool plan to, jump in the middle of Kronos. Has it been established that it's all caves? I don't know, but it hasn't been established that it isn't all caves. So, maybe I'm not saying this is inconsistent with anything, but I think this is something canon that Discovery is creating. But regardless, Discovery's going to jump inside Kronos, and they're going to map the things from within the caves underneath, so they're hidden, and find a way to just fuck Kronos' shit up. Now, the way they were talking about it, like being volcanic and then being able to like sort of destroy it reminded me a lot of Star Trek 6. But with that wasn't actually Kronos. It was a moon called Praxis that was their primary, source of like resources and stuff. And when that got destroyed, they were screwed. But it seemed almost like the same principle. Like, we're gonna, fuck up their infrastructure so they won't be able to continue war. And that's another thing I don't think would jive with canon. So I think it would make much more sense, ease my mind a lot more, if they jump back 9 months in time and they gave them this, the able to stop the cloaking technology. Because even like Cornwell in this episode even says, "Oh, it's too late now, but 9 months ago we could have stopped this war before it even started." Sorry, I'm quoting yesterday's Enterprise, but to me, like, I would love that. I don't know, and I almost think like they have to do it because, like, it would make more sense. It would fit so much more within canon because we wouldn't have, like, if they do the thing where they like just fuck up Klingons' infrastructure. That's not how the Klingons were presented in the original series. They had an info, and this is like a huge like gigantic war, like World War II or something. And so if 10 years after that there would be these superpowers who would be just totally crippled and recovering, having all these hard feelings about this huge war, and that's not how they were presented in the original series. We get the episode freaking hell, the first one with the Klingons. They actually go to war in the first episode the Klingons ever appear. So they go to war again, and they're not shown as like having completely destroyed their entire infrastructure or whatever. I don't know. People will disagree with me, whatever, but that's how I feel. Anyway, so yeah, they had a huge plan to fuck up their infrastructure. And so this is the part I didn't kind of like, is Giorgio has the plan, so she goes to Cornwell and it's like, "Look, I have the plan, I know how to do it, so I need something in return." So at the end of the episode, we get the big twist that Giorgio is like, Cornwell presents it as if she's the real Giorgio, the Prime Universe Giorgio, and saying, "Oh, we found she was captured by the Klingons and we found her." First of all, wouldn't she be like not really fit for command after being imprisoned by the Klingons for so long? But regardless of that, I don't buy that Cornwell would make this deal. And she actually puts like, alright, now I'm sort of getting into preview for next week's episode, but from what I understood at the end of this episode, I thought Cornwell was going to be maintain command of Discovery and just have Giorgio there as a prop that she'd be there to keep in line. But no, apparently, according to next week's trailer, Cornwell's leaving Discovery and leaving Giorgio in charge, in command, leaving this mirror universe Empress in command of a Federation starship. I don't know. Maybe they'll do something next week to explain this, but I don't think so. I think that's bullshit. I don't buy that. I think that is dumb. She wouldn't leave. I don't care like how valuable her information is or whatever. That Cornwell would actually say, "Oh, you know, you're in command." Like forgetting next week's preview, just by the end of the episode, just by Georgia sitting in the captain's chair, fucking ordering Saru around. I know they're desperate to beat the Klingons, but they could still beat the Klingons without doing that. She had already given them the most vital information. Sure, she is holding back on a little bit and could know more, but I think Cornwell would be like, well, fuck you. We'll take our chances. I'm not going to risk putting a freaking evil version of an evil emperor in charge of a fucking Federation starship. I just didn't like that. But, yeah, so I guess that's where I was sour on the episode. But as I said, like a lot of the other stuff with the emotion, like the Stamets and where he encounters Tyler, like that was really well done, very emotional, and the whole thing about planting, they get a dead moon and they plant the spores and use the Genesis device to get the spores so they can have more spores to use. Like that was really interesting too. But anyway, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about this episode. Alright, so let me touch a bit on Sarek actually, because it was interesting. Like, I love the interactions between Sarek and Jojo because they're both the respective like mentors of their own version of Michael Burnham. So that was pretty, and it was interesting that Jojo was speaking to him as an equal, even though like she has that mirror universe way of thinking where she thinks Vulcans are inferior. But I like how she was smart enough to see, that her situation in this universe is totally different and she needs to adapt. So I think that was a great take on that character, and that their sort of interactions about, of their experiences, comparing their experiences to raising Burnham, like that was really interesting. And I did get the impression that Sarek knew a bit more about Burnham than he was letting on. I did like the way that he was sort of judging her as like you're letting your feelings getting the better of you, so sort of judging her as a Vulcan. You could tell, and I still think the actress who plays Burnham is amazing. I still completely disagree with people who complain about her acting, especially in this scene with Sarek, because you could tell like she was starting to become more Vulcan around him, because she was trying to, display that sort of in control, logical feelings. So she was like, and I think that was really nicely done. And Sarek, of course, could see through that. So I love those interactions as well. So yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, I didn't hate this episode. There were a lot of really good personal interactions, but overall, I think it did seem kind of like a setup episode. Like, and some people will say, well, we have to have it because after last week's was so epic. True that, but there's only 2 episodes left, so there's not much to set up for. So I don't know. See, and that's why I'm kind of against the whole structure of having this huge epic thing, 3 episodes before the end of the finale, because you only have 2 episodes left, and that's not really enough time to wrap up in a totally different storyline, unless, of course, it's setting up for something to be paid off in season 2. So if that's the case, then okay, that's fine. But I don't know, if they try to like resolve everything in next week's episode, I think that it will feel a bit rushed to me, to be honest. And I think it's too late in the game to have a setup episode. Like, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But regardless, like, I just wish there would have been a bit more substantial happening in this episode. But it's all good. So anyway, my rating for The War Without, The War Within, out of 10 is a 7. Very good. Yeah, as I said, there's a lot of like good acting, good personal relations stuff that was really good setting up. Other things I wasn't a huge fan of, other felt like contrived plot points, but I don't know. We'll see where they go with this. Anyway, that is it for my review of The War Without, The War Within. Be sure to check back here as I conclude my coverage of Star Trek Discovery next week with the finale. And I also do many other videos on other shows like Star Trek, Game of Thrones, The Expanse, and more, so be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that, and thanks a lot for watching.